Never seen a smile so big on my little old lady's face until I tell her I'm going fishing all weekend. Pack up all of my bacon, I make plans for 7:45, and I swing around, pick up my date for the weekend. Some reason she seems to please when I'm leaving. There's something I'm missing when I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing.
Yeah, baby.
Yes, sir. Hello, everyone, indeed. And Mad Camp Plastics, I loved your post that you tagged Jim and myself in. It's nice to see folks learn something. You know, you come here not to just get entertained, but to get educated as well. And as Jim will browbeat us till he's blue in the face, pull your snow away from the hole. And hey, Rod, good on you, buddy. Corey, nice to see you. Dave Gillis in the house, all the way out from Saskatchewan. I mean, I know you're here for CFN as you always are, but we have a special guest coming on at the end of the show, Walter Heuck. And I said it right on live. Write this date down, January 24th. I said it right, Walter Heuck. And if I can get it right, he's going to be talking about the ice jam and on Kenosee Lake. So that's 2 for 2. I'm batting 1,000 so far. So he'll be talking about that, and it's really cool that we're able to get together. I know Jen Harlow, she reached out to me about Stokel Lake and getting out with them, hopefully sometime in February. So we might be having an ice jam paralleling the one out in Saskatchewan, but I'd love to see Lloyd. You're with us tonight. Love to see you out there. There's quite a few Saskatchewan members, part of our CFN chapter, that I'm sure you're chomping at the bit to hear a little bit more from Walter. He'll be coming up shortly. Of course, we've got Jim and Lawrence. Jason, he couldn't make it tonight. Hopefully he's not stuck in any kind of snow. But for those who dug out last Monday, looks like this way anyway in Ontario, we're digging out again down to the south. So she is what she is, but it's great for us that have ice, because all it's doing is insulating. It might not build much more, but it's certainly insulating what is there. Everybody have a good weekend. Saw a lot of you out fishing, which was nice to see. We have a real special segment that we're going to be adding to the end, especially if you shared a next-gen CFNer pick that got edited for our contest. You're going to want to stay tuned, and you're definitely going to want to bring your youngins near the end of the show to see if they were featured in a video that was put together by our good buddy Steve Shaw. Fantastic job. Can't wait for you guys to see it. Jamie, how you doing? Benoit, nice to see you all the way from Quebec. Wow. I appreciate you joining in. Jay DeLuz is with it. Ed McKenzie, how you doing? James Shembry. It's awesome to see all you folks with us. You know, I'm sure there's a million things. Life gets busy. And I'll tell you this. It means the world to not only myself, but our panel, that you guys show up, guys and gals show up every Monday to tune in, say hello, participate, play along, you know, ask some questions. As I said, tonight is probably going to be a little bit light. There's not a lot to discuss in regards to announcements, other than we have some that Lawrence and I are going to be sharing. I also want to remind everyone that it's going to be Ladies' Night next week, and we have Ashley joining us as a guest. Casperson, I believe is her last name. Please, if I butchered that, I apologize, Ashley. But she's going to be joining us with, of course, Yvonne Brown. Really excited, as always, for our Ladies' Night. It's just something that's unique, and we love the fact that it's being featured on CFN. And it involves you ladies, because it brings our lady anglers together with the rest of our community. And as I said, we build community one angler at a time. And it's what makes us great. And I'm very, very proud of it. And all of you CFNers who are joining us and are a part of what we consider our movement. Peter Young announced the ice fishing Lake Simcoe prize pack, CFN prize pack. So if it was you that won, I'm not sure exactly who it was, but we might be having Peter on here to discuss what goes on at that page, as well as some of the incredible giveaways they're giving away. If you don't, or you haven't been there or haven't seen, make sure you go to ice fishing Lake Simcoe Lake Simcoe ice fishing page on Facebook and get involved in some of those incredible giveaways. Peter's done a marvelous job just gathering together a whole whack of great prizes. So tune into that. Make sure you have a boo, and hopefully you win a prize. But we will find out who won and was a part of the last prize that CFN helped sponsor. And we'll find out that. As I said, our Winter Fish Fest, February 1st, hopefully, knock on wood, it's going to be a go. I don't see why not. But Mike and I are working very, very hard to make sure that it is. Of course, Anglers Atlas and their fishing app is going to be piloted this year for the Winter Fish Fest. So make sure if you haven't already downloaded the app, that's all you have to do. There's no fee. We've managed to keep it free to you participants, and it's just how we roll. We got some great prizes. Ugly Boys Baits being one. Mad Cam also sent a bunch of baits as well. So we've got Mad Cam and Ugly Boys Baits that are going to be featured as prizes. And I doubt that that's it that we're going to have. I'm sure we're going to have lots more. If you are interested, make sure to reach out to me, and I'll get you the address that you can send it to. You'll get some great promotion with the Winter Fish Fest. But as I said, anyone that wants to become involved as a prize sponsor, we really, really appreciate. And of course, just so we know and everybody is aware, the CFN retreat at Horwood Lake Lodge is a go for next year. And I want you to get in touch with our good friends Warren and Doris up at Horwood Lake Lodge. If you are interested in going, I think Mike Hale was someone that joined CFN just recently and has inquired about the retreat. So as I said, we are still taking bookings. Reach out to Doris and Warren if you're interested. It is going to be a great time as always. The last three, it's been just phenomenal. And I'll tell you, it's the highlight of the summer. And for those who go, I'm pretty sure they would agree. It is definitely the highlight of summer. So if you want to go, you're interested in coming, and you want to be fed fish every night, catch fish every day, and be fed like champs, this is the place to go. It's a reasonable stay. I know Warren and Doris, with everything that's going up in price in the world, are doing their very darndest to keep it economical for all of us CFNers. But needless to say, it's worth every penny. And for those who have gone, you know what I'm talking about. How you doing, Mitchell? Nice to see you tonight. Sounds like it is a heck of a time, dude. It really is. I don't think anyone that goes ever has a bad time. Christina, I know you can speak to it. If Richard Dunlop's here, he can as well. There's a whole bunch of you. There you go. Mike Hale's with us. Nice to see you. Jeanette, hoping that you might be able to make it. I'm not sure. I know you're busy with tournaments, but yes, absolutely. Steve Shaw, hopefully we're going to see you this year as well. And anybody else that is interested. Brad, I know you've mentioned coming before. We'd love to have you up. As I said, there is still room, still beds available. So make sure you reach out to Doris and Warren at Horwood Lake Lodge and find out if there's a place to stay. But the Western Retreat is also going on this year, Jan Lake Lodge, and Walter's going to be on later to talk about it. So I'm not going to take any of his steam away. He's got lots to talk about because our Saskatchewan chapter is very, very busy. And to the Rob Allspatch, the Kelly Delormes, the Lloyd Brunts, all of you folks out that way that do a fantastic job spreading the word, sharing our posts. I mean, I don't know, when I make the post about CFN Live and I got to either drive to work or, pour myself a coffee and then go back online and see it shared like 40 times. God bless you all, man. That's awesome. That spreading the word like that is what has created this community, this wonderful community that all of you are a part of. And we are so proud to have you. Well, you know what? Without further ado, I think that's it. I apologize. Cameron Tate couldn't make it last Thursday. We are going to be rescheduling that because, as I said, it's an incredible prize pack that he has given away. So, as I said, we're going to reschedule. Cameron got busy unfortunately, as I said, with what he does as a living, things come up just like everybody else's life. Life happens. And Cameron just wanted me to pass along an apology to make sure everyone knew that the segment has not been forgotten. It's only been postponed. Cliff Moore is all the way up in BC. How you doing, my friend? Sun's probably still out that way. JR Paquette, how you doing? And our Outdoor Flavors Bait to Go family is with us. Nice to have you. And of course, we are going to be featuring some of that Bait to Go outdoor flavors in some upcoming stuff that we're going to be doing here at CFN. There's so much going on. So excited to have all of these great partners a part of our community, because without them, I tell you, it'd be tough to build on. And the first and foremost one that we can't thank enough of is, of course, the segment and the video that we use to introduce Jim. This is a word from our sponsor. This is our Get Up and Go song. Jim, you're up next, buddy. There he is, the man.
What's going on?
Are you busy with the fluff? Is that what you're doing?
No, I was making some little thingies here.
We're taking you away from the fluff.
No fluff. I was making these little dudes.
Oh, God, love those little dudes. Wow. Out west, I don't know that a hair jig is something that they use on the regular.
They're monsters. They're monsters.
Dave, Walter, or anybody else, Rob, if you're with us, Lloyd, is it something that is used out west, especially for walleye? I mean, they are perfect and designed, in my opinion, for walleye.
I got guys that buy them 12 dozen at a time.
There you go. Wow. January 15th, we had to deal with a tsunami wave on Oregon coast. Yes, absolutely. Quite the eruption that was, Jim?
Yeah, I watched a video or a satellite thing of that. The way the island changed shape when the water came over it, and then it went back to
Yeah, it was quite something. But of course it keeps us on guard, because Mother Nature can always throw us a curveball. And
we're nothing.
Yeah,
we're like this to her, right?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
Still swear, I always joke around when we talk about things, and I say to my wife, I think the Earth is an experiment. It's just like a petri dish, and someday the aliens are gonna look in the dish and go, "What the hell?" and give it a shake and see what grows next.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. I'm going to be a little bit of an optimist and say that yes, they might be out in outer space, but if we continue to show our crazy sides every once in a while, or perhaps maybe it's just our natural sides. I mean, if you go on social media, there is some wild stuff that you see. If those aliens get wind of any of that, I doubt they'll ever land on this planet.
Well, they just go right by.
yeah, okay.
They look down and go, "Whoa, step on it."
Exactly.
We don't want to break down close to here and have to ask for help.
Jim, unfortunately, light of everything, we do have to bring up a serious note, and it was something that you had texted me earlier today. We can't remind our folks, and it's really not these folks that we're talking to, because let's face it, the ones who join us every Monday, They know the real deal. They know the score. But if we can help in some way, somehow, spread the word, be safe out on that ice. Unfortunately, we have a few stories that we've learned about recently about folks, unfortunately, dying out on the ice and doing so in a manner that, I don't want to judge. It is what it is. People do their thing. But that I just felt bad for the person that had to find that chap that was frozen in his ice hut. But that's one. And then, of course, when you searched to find out a little bit more about that incident, you were presented someone that fell through in the Bay of Quinte. And
Yeah, it was like a week ago, and then there was a couple. Excuse me, in the single digits of January. One of them it said Lake Ontario, so I don't know if it was in Quinte or Lake Ontario is a big place. I didn't read them all, but this is not brought to light. You didn't hear anything about this. I just said the other day to a buddy of mine here talking to him, I said, wow, seems to have been a real shortage of people drowning this year. Eventually and then I go on and I search this thing and whoa, and all the ones start coming up from 2020 to 2019, 2018. I'm just scrolling through them forever. And they're not all, Bay of Quinte or Lake Simcoe or whatever. But man, oh man, it's so fun finding a body on the ice where somebody's frozen.
100%.
It's there's probably something else there. They probably had a heart attack or something else. But just to find someone frozen on the ice, that's apparently the guy was pretty shook up about it. So it's no fun.
I can imagine, and as I said, for no other reason, and I say this to most anglers that will send us videos that I love. I absolutely love the release videos, but I'll sometimes say back, respond back. I'd love to use it. I can't. Unfortunately, the ice is questionable where you are, and I'm not here to judge, nor am I here to browbeat. But just consider what you're doing, because it's not just about endangering yourself. It's about what you're going to have to do to first responders, and a lot of those chaps out that way are volunteer, whether they're guys or gals, they're volunteering their time. It's not something that they're paid an awful lot of money to do. But when you put yourself in harm's way, somebody's got to look after you. Somebody's got to save you. So we got to think about others as well. Now, you know what? Go ahead.
No, you just, it's a lot of common sense. Like anybody can fall through the ice. That can happen. You come to a spot, it happens. There's little places that nobody knows anything about. You could have been walking in that same general area for 10 years and it's always good ice. And then some little thing happens. The current's heavier. There's a spring pushing out more water from the shore. Like I told you about me when I fell through that time on the shore. I had been to that lake 25 times that year. And I'm standing there, 10 feet from shore, minding my own business. And through I went, and we had all walked over it. We were all walking back over it the other way, and it just go. And the ice was probably 8 inches thick where I went through.
Wow.
7, 8 inches maybe. There was a good bit of ice there, but it was a weak spot. I don't know if I ever mentioned to you too. We found out about that there was an overflow to some kind of a holding tank that they kept water in. That came down that hill and was buried. We often wondered because there was a pipe about halfway down that stuck out of the ground, a big round pipe, looked like a well pipe. And it may have been a well at one point, or it had a pumping thing to get the water higher up, to get it up to the building we used to go in behind. But that's something like that. There's just little things, and then I could have been going there and the well wasn't being used, then all of a sudden it is. So it flows and the water runs down and it overflows or whatever. There's the water table changes a little. There's just so many things, but it just kills me when I see people. You see these stories about people frozen, holding on the edge of a lake, and they find the body dead.
Yeah,
like what you had to go through to die. Was it really worth to go out on the ice to get that fish? Oh, I caught a 12-pound walleye. Yeah, but you're dead now, And there was one there a few years back that they posted of a guy. Holding up an immense walleye. It was like a giant. They had it on a scale. They had a scale that went to 15 pounds and it pulled it down. So, the guy said, oh, yeah, well, it might not have been a good scale. Well, I don't care what kind of scale it was. It said 15 pounds and it went clunk. It was, you know what I mean? It was a giant fish. And he never got to enjoy it because he stayed out there and he ended up dying. He came in the dark and he found a spot of open water and that was out by Picton. and he went through, and things like that. Like ah, you
Yeah.
just, you have to be careful. You have to look. You got to have eyes. You got to have 360, like as if you had your head on a swivel,
Yeah.
going back and forth to watch it.
100%. Now, we don't want to scare you because there are some great things that happen out on the ice.
Oh,
And
wow, yeah.
when it comes to building community, I mean, there's nothing like ice fishing when it comes to gathering people, and we're going to find out.
Social event.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And if you know someone that can fish, cook some walleye, as our buddy Richard has mentioned, don't pick me because I've got issues. No, I'm kidding. But Christina asked a great question, and Christina, I'm with you. I could sit back and listen to Jim's stories all day long. Jim, what was one of the most memorable ice fishing memories that you have?
Does it have to involve me? I may have told you this before. This little bluegill lake that I went to,
Yep.
it had a piece of embankment that I wouldn't want to try navigating now. And you used to I had a Yukon. If guys know what a Yukon is.
Mhm.
Like when I was younger, I'm a big boy. I pulled a Yukon. Everybody else they were full of one man, or they were starting to get pop-ups when I was really doing a lot of ice fishing. And I used to bring about a 75-foot rope. And when we got to the top of this little hill, I would lower the Yukon down to the bottom, because it was like the hill was like this.
Mhm.
Like coming back up was was like
a pain.
Yeah, it hurt. You knew when you got to the top because there was no air left within 6 feet of you. And I let the fish trap go, and I'm lowering it down, and here comes some guys, and I'd never seen anybody there, and I thought, oh, so I pulled it. I pull it all back up. They walk right by, and they're going to the other side of the lake because there was an access at a little some kind of like a little maintenance station, and they went that way. So I got it back up to the top, so I don't let it down all the way, and I'm walking down behind it, and I stop to take a break, and I sit on the edge of it, and I've got it in the snow, and all of a sudden it takes off with me on it.
Uh-oh.
So here I am now, sitting on the fish trap, which was secure, pushed into the snow, like I tamped it down good. I'm sitting there, and I go down to the bottom, and there's about a 2-foot drop off the end, and no snow on the ice, and I go right off. I would have looked like Chevy Chase on that slippery
Christmas vacation. Yeah.
Out of the lake, and I go down. So we get out on the ice that night, and then I'm with my buddy John, who is no longer with us anymore. That's too bad, because man, that guy loved ice fishing. But we get out on the ice, and that was the night that I caught the first giant pumpkin seed that I ever caught. And it was about 11 inches. And you figure an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. That's how big the pumpkin seed was. So people that say they've caught 1.5 pound pumpkin seeds, no, you're not in the ballpark. Like when I saw this thing, I died. But I get it up, I'm pulling it up, and I had no volcano, and I pull it up, and I slide it onto the ice, and I'm looking, and I'm thinking, and I'm already yelling to John to come. He's fishing about 50 feet away from me, and it comes off the hook because it's out flopping around in the air now, and it's backing up toward the hole.
Oof.
And I jam my heel into the hole with my boot. My boot sticks in the hole like it's in there good, Then I go to back up in the fish trap, and my boot's stuck now, and my foot comes out of my boot now. And he gets there, and I've flipped up the Yukon, and I'm on my hands and knees trying to wrestle this pumpkin seed because it's mine. I caught it. It's like a giant. It's one of those. It's like catching like an 8.5 pound bass, And I've got this thing, and he looks at me, and we exchange a few words I won't repeat here about the size of this thing, everything else. And he looks down, and he says to me, "What's your boot doing in the hole?" I said, "It got stuck, and it came off when I tried to move." It took both of us to get the boot out of the hole.
Unreal.
It got jammed in there somehow with the heel. The two of us are down there tugging and pulling on it. We couldn't get it out. But oh my God, that night was just a comedy of errors. It was one of the funniest things when I shot down that hill. I thought I was going to die because at the bottom it was a great big cedar tree right on the edge of the water. And I shot past that thing. I must have been going 20 miles an hour. None the worse for it, Like,
well,
when you're this big, gravity works a bit more.
Yeah.
Like you get going pretty quick.
Absolutely.
Going down. But I've seen some funny things on ice. I've seen guys run and fall going to holes. We had a buddy of ours did a header and almost got his head stuck in the hole. he was running to a tip up, and he ended up sliding, and he was on like a 45-degree angle with his head like a plow, and it went into the hole, and he flipped over it like his head. If it would have went in, it would have. But because nothing happened. It's a big joke. You're all laughing. Guy could have been laying there dead. With a broken neck. But the antics of stuff on the ice I've seen. I saw guys on Mississippi Lake rolling in one of the first pop-up tents that had floors in them.
Yeah.
You could hear them screaming. They were in about a 50, 60K wind, and it was actually rolling them down the lake.
Oh, man.
And they went by us about 15 feet away from us, and then a couple of guys caught up to them with a skidoo and let it bump up against the skidoo and got a hold of it. But, there's so many things if you sit back there and you think about it. But, most of them involve dropping something in the hole.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I have never dropped the phone in the hole.
Ugh.
I've never dropped the phone in the hole. I know Cooper's dropped 3 in.
Yeah.
Cooper Gallant. He's lost three phones in the hole.
I have one. And as I said, I didn't know what the ring of fire was on a phone. We certainly, Corey has brought attention to the tsunami and what happened, just outside of the country of Tonga. But listen, the ring of fire on an iPhone is never a great sight as it's fluttering down to the bottom.
Yeah.
But,
hey, Dave Gens lost 2 in a day.
Boy, Dave, you make
he lost one. They went into town. They got him a new one.
No.
Came out.
No.
He will never put a phone in his shirt. He always used to wear shirts with a pocket.
Yep.
And he used to put them in a pocket and he'd bend over it.
Unreal.
My phone, when I go, is in my pocket, zipped up. I usually keep it in one of the ones. Recent years, since I started becoming senile, is I'll put it in where you have to open the coat, the zip pocket inside, put it in there to keep it warm against you, and I zip it up. So I'm not losing it, eh?
Oh, wow. Yes, you know what, Kelty, I've done the exact same as well. I want to say when it comes to ice fishing or any fishing, you find out how much of a klutz you are real quick. And if bad things are going to happen to you, it's going to happen to you on the hard water. There's no doubt about it. I've seen, as you said, folks run to a tip up. They've been waiting all day for, the flag to go up, and they run across, and literally by the time they are done, the tip up is destroyed. It's in 100 pieces because
that's usually the beer.
Yeah, that's what Richard says. Sounds like too many beers. And yes, absolutely can't emphasize that enough. I understand we all like to enjoy ourselves, but make sure you keep it to a minimum and don't get caught. Don't get caught. But yeah,
you're not allowed to drink on the ice, are you?
No. So it's not something that we would condone. I know folks do it, and if they do it, they don't get caught and they're responsible. I guess it is what it is. Govern yourself accordingly. Not something that we can promote here at CFN, but we know it happens. We're not oblivious to it. Jim, did you happen to go on? Steve is mentioning we got sent this incredible crappie that was caught, monster crappie. It was out in the province of the province of Manitoba.
Oh, cool.
And I'm not 100% sure what her name was, but beautiful fish, beautiful gal, 17.43 inches.
Wow, that's a giant.
Explain to us in terms of weight and how big, or at least how significant that fish is in terms of its size. That's a 1 in a million.
Have I got a ruler?
That's a 1 in a million, is it not, Jim? You don't.
Yeah, once again, it comes back to the same old thing. Yeah, we were getting 17-inch crappies on the weekend. Well, no, you weren't, because you weren't measuring them. You were looking at, just like the guys with that bass is about 6 pounds, and you look at the size of their hand against it, and their hand's bigger than the head, so it's not a 6 pound. You know what I mean? I don't even get involved in them, but there's so many things. But when they say 17.43, I'm sure that they're pretty bang on to it.
Absolutely, Joe. Hoodies are the worst. Sorry to hear about that, Eve.
So,
about your phone.
17.3. There's it's not going to fit in the screen. That's my fingertip to fingertip. That's an 18-inch ruler.
That's a big copy.
My computer is how far across is this? It's almost 15. So another 2.5 inches wide is like that's 18 inches.
Wow.
So that's just like I can't even fathom that. I've caught them up to 16, just caught like 15, 3/4, that type of stuff. I've never got a 16. I know people who have legitimate 16s. They have them mounted. They've kept the fish to get it done. It's just that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But man, oh man, catching a fish that size, that is just incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible.
What a beast indeed,
Yeah.
Tony.
But the fish are getting bigger. There's no ifs, ands, ors, or buts. Fishermen are getting better. And when I say fishermen, I mean fisher ladies too. They're all lumped in one to me.
100%. Great question Todd has. And Jim, I'll let you answer it, but I do know some things that we are allowed to do with compressed propane and some things that we're not. But Todd just bought a buddy heater this winter, and he wants to know if he can get the 1 pound cylinders refilled.
I'm pretty sure there's a little adapter you can get that goes on like a barbecue cylinder, a 20-pounder. Have a little thing that hooks onto it, and you can put it on to refill it. When I was using the buddy heaters, I was using a 5-pounder, and they were really nice.
Here's what I will say. When it comes to compressed propane, you are allowed to carry it. You are allowed to transport it as long as it's secured properly. What you are not allowed to do, technically by law, is decant it. So you cannot move it from one cylinder to another. However, as Jim has mentioned,
those little things are illegal.
It's not that they're illegal because they're being sold. It's kind of like, before marijuana was sold, they were selling the pipes. It's not necessarily illegal to sell something unless you are somehow encouraging the use of it. Now, there's a lot of uses for that piece that I won't get into because I don't want to advance anybody's knowledge about what it's useful for. So A-Rod, you're right, as long as you don't go over the 5-pound cylinders. So you are allowed to transport it. Anything over I think it's 450 liters, you have to have a special license to carry, but anything under that you are allowed to transport it. You can't decant it, so you can't move it from one cylinder to another because you have to have a license to do that. There are regulations, and they are different in every single province. So it is a good thing to get up to snuff and get knowledgeable about what's out there. But as Jim has mentioned, there is that piece that you can buy that goes on the end of a cylinder, and you can technically refill them. We can't suggest that you do so. What you do in your own time is your business, but again, it's not something.
I'm happy I know that now. I've never done it because I always just bought the 1-pounders. I used to buy at the beginning of the year. I'd buy like they used to come 3 in that little package, and then sometimes they'd be on sale or be 6, just like a 6-pack holder. And I'd buy 4, 5, 6 of those when I was doing all the ice fishing. Put them in the garage, and I'd have the 5-pounder. And whenever I was by, a gas station that had the propane thing, I'd get it filled up. But I did not know that was against the law for, as you say, to decant. Yeah, it's
just decanting, and unless you are doing it in a regulatory area and you have a license to do so, technically you're not supposed to. They want you rebuying those cylinders. It is a pain in the arse, and it's getting extremely expensive, those cylinders. So what I'm fearful of is that there are going to be more people, like you said, Jim, buying that adapter and doing it themselves and may not know the hazards of
waiting to hear the big boom.
Well, it's that, and also, you can freeze the blow off, by decanting it too quickly. You can freeze your hands. I don't know if anybody realizes, but propane is held at such a low temperature.
Well, that's why they wear those big gloves for your barbecue tank.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you are going to do it, the only thing I suggest is you might want to YouTube it so that you can get yourself knowledgeable. Just look at the regs, and if you're going to do it, don't tell anybody you're doing it, because God forbid you get caught doing it and say
don't do it in the garage
and she goes up. Chances are it's going to void your insurance. So keep that in mind. Oh yeah, Steve, Kaylee Jorgensen, absolutely. That was the lady that caught that incredible crappie. Congratulations to her. Hopefully she gets a mount done. I know somebody were saying they were talking about advanced taxidermy. It'd be awesome.
Oh, that would be killer. Those guys love to do that. Yeah. Well, I'll talk about it once. I don't like her anymore.
Yeah, Scott.
That's a beautiful fish, man. She should be proud of that, boy.
Oh, she was. You can just tell by the smile on her face. She definitely was.
How old would she be?
The lady?
Yeah.
Jim, why would you? I would never put you on the spot like this. She was 18.
She's young? Okay.
Yes. As the noose goes around my neck. Scott, yeah, absolutely. I know there's folks out there that have been doing it for many, many years, myself included. As I said, I was told very politely that you might not want to do it out, in the open. It's something that you're going to want to keep under wraps, because if you ever do get caught, you could get yourself in a bit of trouble.
You know, Scotty, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about that fish that she caught, and I looked at the ruler, and it's sitting on the 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that's sitting on a table here, and I'm thinking to myself, so her fish is like another, like 7, 8 inches longer.
I know.
It just boggles my mind.
And it was so healthy looking. Like, it wasn't just long.
Did she keep it?
Great question. I know she took a fantastic photo of it. I'm hoping she's getting a fiberglass mount. If I saw advanced taxidermy mentioned here, but even if she is getting it mounted, doing a skin mount, no shame in that. That is a fish of a lifetime.
Yeah, I've got a little mount of a crappie here that was given to me as a gift. It was just a gift, It's a really cool looking little fish. But I'm looking at. Hang on, I'm going to grab it here. Hang on.
Scott, it's in my barn. My cocaine. Wow. Well, you know what, Scott? Yeah, what happens on the West Coast stays in the West Coast, and for some of us, it's probably better that way. But it sounds like you're going to have a heck of a party based on what you're stocking.
I introduced a guy to crappie fishing, and he was a bit of a taxidermist. That he brought this and gave this to me. So this one with a bit of a curve in it is not quite 14 inches. So there's that. It was a beautiful, that's a skin mount that's probably 15 years old.
Wow, that's really well done.
Yeah, the guy is just, he moved out west. He's just a wizard, just an absolute wizard. So when you think her fish is like almost 4 inches longer than that. So her fish is that much longer.
And think about, and Jim, I don't know too much about crappie. Like a fish that size, what would you say in terms of age would that fish be?
Not very old. They grow really quickly.
Okay.
That fish that she's got is probably ancient. It's probably like very, very old. But the weight, it's probably weighed like, I don't know, like a pound 8 or a pound 12 or something like that. So I'm thinking that fish that she's got, that's like just a monster.
That's well over 2 for sure.
Absolute 100%. Monster. Man, oh man.
Jim, there's a whole bunch of stuff that Shimano is unveiling, and they've done a bit last week. They're going to be doing more this week. There was one you wanted to mention. I haven't got all the specs and stuff on the other stuff, but the first one is the World Minnow that they put out, and it comes. There's 2 of them. There's a World Minnow, which was around, and there's a World Diver. This is 6 to 8 feet. This is 4 to 6 feet. The regular one is, let me see here. Yeah, 4 to 6 feet. 4.5 inches on the regular minnow, and it's 3.7 on the diver. 3.78 on the diver, and they both have flash boost in them. And that's the thing that's really the mind boggler about this. Is I know it's going to be hard for you to see this, but when this thing is sitting still in the water, you see a smallmouth, you see a fish come, you're using a jerk bait, you see it. And even if you don't see a fish, you jerk it and you just let it sit. That's why they built suspending jerk baits. So you didn't stop it and have it go back to the top. Right.
So I want you to look at this as close as you can when I'm holding it, and you'll see that little, see that little shimmer? See that little thing? See that shaking in there?
Oof.
And I'm holding it as still. You can see I'm holding it as still as I can.
And it still shakes like that.
And it's still shaking, yeah. Like even when you shake it, it doesn't shake that much more. Just the vibration of me talking, you can see it go to the.
Holy smokes!
And there's no battery in this. I think the guy said to me, "Oh, how do you change the batteries?" I said, "Well, there isn't a battery. Here's a silver one."
and it shimmers like that. No
Yeah,
matter if you're tugging on it,
it's hard to
retrieving it.
get the angles on it. Yeah, it's just, it can be sitting still in the water. They've just found a way to do it that it's just incredible. Maybe the blue one will show up on this. Oh yeah, you can see the blue good.
Look at that!
That's just holding it. I'm
Wow.
holding that as still as I can.
And that's like I would consider that a twitch bait. It would be
Well, it's a jerk bait, yeah.
crankbait, jerk
Like
bait.
you
Like,
can, so there's that one in a deeper diver. They've got flash boost on. They've got scale boost on them. They have a little thing inside that slides to the back when you cast, so it doesn't tumble in the air. It sort of makes a bit of a noise when you cast it, like you think you broke the rod tip or something. It does make a noise when you cast it. It's kind of weird, but they've just brought it to a different level. They've brought something to a different level, and it's like anything that Shimano does. They've got JDM lures, like that's Japanese domestic market. They've got lures over there, stuff that would blow your mind. And I think you're going to see more and more of it come to Canada, and especially with the clear water.
yeah.
Like Bernie Schultz and I have talked about this, and he told me it's nuts.
Well, Bernie is he fishes some of the most clearest water.
Down in Florida there,
yeah, that one river, and apparently they've got some underwater video that we're hoping to get to you folks, so you can see it firsthand. I didn't realize that it shimmered.
Yeah, Alex Davis, who we had on, he did some of his first days out. The first day that they were out, he had a client catch a 10.5 on one. Like the first day that he ever tied one of these lures on for somebody, the guy got a 10.5. It's the only 10-pound fish they got this year, and they got a couple of 8s and 9s that day, and they were just like, they were blind casting. Like these were not spawning fish or anything like that.
Wow.
This was late in the fall when you really use a suspending jerk bait, where you'll sort of not so much jerk it, but you'll sort of slide it a couple of times and then just let it sit for 3, 4, 5 seconds sometimes.
Yeah.
And then maybe just turn the handle a couple of times and give it one jerk. You're just trying to find a bit of a cadence, and you got to remember what you did, when you're doing it. So once again, it's like everything else in fishing. You really have to be attentive and pay attention if you want to be successful with it. And I talked to him about it, and he told me he was like blown away. He said, there's tons of stuff out there that catch fish, but he says when you cast a jerk bait and now it sits still, and when the fish comes and looks at it or sees it from a distance, it's shimmering, but it's not moving.
Incredible.
I mean, that's just an invite to come and get bit. And some of the colors that they have are absolutely stunning. Like this is maybe this one will show up really good. I'm not sure.
Oh wow!
So it's a chartreuse, but you can see the thing shaking in there.
Jeez. Yeah, definitely a game changer. First, I don't know of another bait like it.
Oh no, there's not. This is one of a kind. It's and the nice thing about it is they've got it in divers. I don't know which ones are going to show up the best here. Yeah, see, the ones that look really like bait fish don't show up on the computer screen. But no, man, hey, I don't get jacked about things the way I used to. I'm jacked about this. I just can't wait to go out and use this.
No kidding.
This is one of the divers.
Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. Holy smokes.
It's just a little insert, but you can see it. Any little bit of movement, it just quivers.
Wow, that's it. Well, we can't wait to see you use it for the first time, Jim. We'll be right there with you. Hopefully,
I was trying to figure out how to use it ice fishing.
It'd be a long slit in the ice.
They've got a whole bunch more stuff coming. They've got we just let crankbaits out today. There's just so much stuff coming. It's not.
Well, I know Mark's asking about deep divers. I do know that they have introduced some deep divers. I think one of them that's a medium depth that you held up.
That's 6 to 8 feet.
But I do believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, they have one that goes to 17. Is that
right?
right?
They have. Let me see if I can find a picture on my phone here. Quick.
17 feet. Holy smokes.
Where are they?
And you're right, Jeanette. Yes, the blue one definitely showed up the best, but
Yeah, the crankbait series is called Macbeth,
yeah,
which I just think is really, really cool. But I can get to the come out wherever you are. Here we go. Almost. Can't talk about that.
so there's lots happening in Shimano land. Mark, I believe it is. It's 17 to 21 is what I think the range of that deep diver is. Again, I've been wrong before, and Jim will correct me. But
Yeah, see, there it is. Right, you can see it right in the corner there. The big long lip on it.
yeah. And from what I'm told, that'll go down 17 feet. I don't know about any deeper than that, but I believe it's 17 to 21. But again, I've been wrong before.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing the stuff that they've got coming, and the plans to expand on it are huge. So
right on.
It's going to
well,
be.
Jim, we best move on. We've stuck with you a good amount of time. As always, we could stay here all night. Some great stories that you've shared, and some wisdom. And hopefully, we get to see you out on the hard water real soon. And
I hope so.
Not that I want summer to come anytime soon, but I will say that what you have held up, I can't myself wait to try some.
Oh yeah, no, that stuff is going to be. It's going to catch fish.
Right on, dude. You take care,
buddy.
All the best this week, and
be safe out there. We don't want to have to roll you over stiff on the ice.
100%.
I'm not smiling when I say that, though.
I know, 100%, dude. You're
buddy.
hang on there. All right, dude. All the best.
Take care. Everybody, be safe.
Cheers. Just beautiful stuff. Shimano's coming out with some incredible stuff that Jim is going to be sharing with us, and I can't wait to have you folks see it all. But that is just the tip of the iceberg. Their new jerk crankbaits and deep divers. Incredible stuff. Before we bring on Lawrence, here's a word from our sponsor, Camp Macintosh. Lawrence, how you doing tonight, my friend?
Doing well, thanks.
You know, with Jim, we always lose track of time, so I apologize. We ran a little bit long, but we don't have Jason Barnews with us tonight, but we do have a special guest. Walter Heuck is going to be joining us to talk about the Ice Jam. But before we do, we have some exciting news that's going to be coming up on Wednesday that is going to basically be a huge cooperative effort between Bluefish Radio and CFN. Tell us a little bit more about it so that our folks know what they're tuning into this Wednesday, the 26th at 6:30.
Well, it's amazing how it all comes together, right? Here's CFN using the MyCatch app made right here in Canada, on the west coast of Canada by Anglers Atlas, to run the winter ice fishing, or the winter fishing tournament, right? The 1 month fishing tournament for CFN. Now you got on the East Coast, you got the Atlantic Anglers Challenge doing the same thing out there. They ran a tournament for 2 years using that app. Saskatchewan's doing it. You know, there's places now across Canada popping up with that app. So we're going to be talking to a couple of the researchers to talk about what they get out of the data from that. You know, this isn't just, tag and fish at the weigh-in station before they get released. This is now a ton more data that the researchers get to have access to. And we're talking to Scotty and Jeff Wilson on the East Coast there from the Striper Cup. on how they're going to use this app to run these virtual tournaments. So basically, we want to give you, the anglers, a better understanding of how you're going to participate in the citizen science to promote our fisheries, to make sure our fisheries are sustainable, to make sure we have access to these fisheries, and how your data is being guarded and protected to make sure your hard-earned fishing spots aren't given away. So we'll be answering all those questions. It'll be 5 presentations over 25 minutes. Everyone gets 5 minutes to talk each, and then a whole 30 minutes for Q&A. So it'll be live Facebook over CFN, live Facebook over the St. Lawrence River Institute for Environmental Science, and live YouTube over the Bluefish Canada YouTube channel. And we're covering all the bases here, folks.
And it's going to dispel a lot of the concerns that some of our anglers have when it comes to the Winter Fish Fest, that this app is going to basically divulge and share their hotspots and some of their little honey holes, some of their places that, as you said, you've spent a lot of time searching out for, you found, and you don't really want to share it with anybody. And I totally understand that. Totally get it. It's not that kind of app, and it's certainly not designed to do that. So a lot of those questions that you may have or concerns about using the app will be answered during that segment. So I invite all of you, because as I said, we are going to be using MyCatch as our app. It'll be run as a pilot for the Winter Fish Fest, but our intent is to use it for the spring, our spring event, which is huge. And we're hoping that we're going to have close to 1,000 anglers this year, if not more, participating. So you know what? We need to get the news out there and the knowledge in regards to this app and the importance of what it is as an angler you're going to be sharing to improve your fishery, make those in the know a little bit more knowledgeable about the fishery and how they can help the fishery if it's needed, or something does come up. They'll have a directory and a library of all kinds of important information. I'll tell you, here at CFN, we have been doing our very best to try and promote the bridging of the gap. And there is a gap between us anglers and, of course, our M&R biologists. And this is one way that we can do that. And we'll be all on common ground when it happens. So very, very cool. Again, that is this Wednesday, the 26th at 6:30, correct, Lawrence?
6:30 for us, Scotty. Everyone else 7:00. So we go live at 7:00.
Right on.
Yeah.
So yeah, stay tuned to that. Some of the guests that will be showing up. I know you mentioned a couple names. Is there another list that you want?
Christopher Salmers. We know him from the Saskatchewan, Angling Association there, and the research he's doing out there. We've heard about his research. Tons of information. He's got a really good following out there. In Atlantic Canada, I mean, we could have asked a lot of researchers to come on, but these are the some that have done a lot of great work on this already. It's really building, I mean, Anglers Atlas, here's a private sector initiative. The guy is taking money from his publication company, putting it into this, pouring a lot of sweat equity into this. He's got 125,000 Canadian anglers signed up for this now. I'm talking to a guy tomorrow morning from Stockholm, Sweden. He invented Fishbrain, similar type app. This one is angling, tournament angling, and angling, more individual angling, just a place for you to gather your own data. It's kind of like a catch log, only totally all the latest cool, tools, really innovative. He's got 13 million anglers signed up for Fishbrain. He's raised over $27 million in finance money into this project. And it's just growing and growing and growing. So this is the future, you guys. This is the future. So, come on in, ask your questions, learn about what this future is looking like now, and so you have a better understanding of where it's going, because this is a way to get the young people to stay involved with fishing. They're wanting this. They're using this technology. This to them is sort of, as basic as a tackle box, right? I mean, it's that fundamental in their fishing, just using these apps. So we need to know what we're talking about. Otherwise, we're all going to look like old farts.
It's true. And Corey, you make a very valid point that there is a lot of apprehension from folks to use fishing apps. In Corey's defense, he doesn't trust fishing apps. I don't know of a fishing app that has ever shared something that it wasn't intended to do so. But again, I have been wrong before. Fishbrain was one of those apps that came out And I want to say it took the industry by storm. It was about as big a thing as Navionics has. And a lot of folks use Navionics, and at any given time, anybody that controls or runs Navionics can find out where you are at any given time. So I understand why there's a certain apprehension about using the app, but at the end of the day, if it's going to have something to do with fisheries management, and it's not just something that's a gimmick and cool to have on your phone. In this case, it's going to deal with the science. And
it's exactly that, Scotty. It's the science. Look at like just Ontario and the thousands and thousands of lakes we have to monitor and watch over to make sure that we have good fishing regulations, good fishing practices on those lakes. The government's not going to spend that kind of money to do all of it. It's up to us to make sure we're gathering that data and handing it into the right researchers so that they can, put out the information that regulators need to know about to monitor and manage these fisheries. Otherwise, they're going to get wrecked, or what Gord Pizer calls just pulse fish. We fish them hard for a few years until they're depleted. Then we move on to the next lake, leaving enough fish behind for them to rebuild their numbers over the next 5 years, and then we come back again and do it all over again. I mean, we can do that in Ontario, but not around urban areas. That works 400 kilometers away from urban areas, but anything within a day's drive of an urban center, you can't do that. We need to make sure we manage our fisheries, we understand our fisheries. Otherwise, they're going to become sort of protected, right? And the word protected often means lack of access for angling. We don't want that.
100%. Kelty, you're bang on, as Lawrence has mentioned. Let's face it, our kids and the generation that's coming up, it's the digital age, right? It's all about the phone and social media, and that's their go-to. And if it gets kids involved in fishing, as Fishbrain did for your kids that were starting out, I'm all for it. I'm 100% for it. Anything that gets more folks out fishing, let's do it. And if it is something as simple as creating an app where young anglers can be promoted, or older anglers, savvy anglers, new anglers, what have you. Again, all for it. It's all about promoting angling and making sure that we have this for our generations to come. Because at the end of the day, if we don't have a loud voice, certain things can get taken away, and we're starting to see that with everything else that's going on in the world. So again, if it means an app, downloading an app, and it's going to somehow benefit those in the know that much more, I'm totally for it. Totally on board.
Even Lake Nipissing, right? I'm interviewing the head MNRF official who's responsible for setting the regs for Nipissing. I'm going to be talking with her on Wednesday morning. I already talked and interviewed. These haven't come out yet. This one hasn't come out yet, but I've interviewed the chief of the Nipissing First Nations band, right? And they have 26 boats out there, with each has 3 gill nets, and they're after walleye. And talk to them about that and how that stacks up against recreational angling and what they're doing to make sure the walleye stocks aren't depleted. So they're doing their research, MNR is doing their research, but as anglers, we're sort of we have access to some of this data, not all of it, but we're a strong voice too. And if we have the right science behind us, we can also put forward a strong argument. And that's something that's been missing, right? I mean, the MNRF's sort of stuck in the middle here. They have to work with the First Nations and strike a deal with them. And then they have to strike a deal with us afterwards to give us, what we have in terms of access. But we're not working. We're not coming to the table in a position of knowledge. We're coming to the table in a position of, this is what we want. Will you give it to us? And we'll have to put up with their decisions, not knowing why those decisions were taken and not being able to question those decisions. So it's this type of knowledge from this type of data that can give us a much better position to get a seat at those tables and have some real input. That's so important.
Agreed. And Corey, at the end of the day, I'm pretty much picking up what you're laying down in terms of, your concerns for how this information will be shared. And as if you're a long in the tooth striper fisherman or any kind of angler for that matter, and you, as I said, have your designated honey holes that you have spent a lot of time on the water to find, I can understand why you wouldn't embrace an app like this. For some of us, though, who want to see our fisheries improved and are willing to do whatever it takes, whether it be coming on here on lives and stressing the importance of catch and release, and releasing big walleye, for instance, big muskie, even big salmon for that matter. At the end of the day, things happen and fisheries change, and it's troubling to see the state of salmon out in BC. And if we were able to maybe gain some more knowledge a lot more quicker, maybe we would have been able to react a little bit differently. I know that's an easy answer, and it's not exactly discussing the root of the problem out there. But if for whatever reason it assists folks in any other province other than maybe out on the West Coast in BC, where there's some deep-rooted problems out that way, and it can improve a fishery, again, sign me up. I'm in.
The other thing it's going to give us, I released a podcast with Brad Fenson. Brad is a well-known author, writer. He writes for all the major magazines, Outdoor Life, Field of Streams, Outdoor Canada Magazine. He's got his own podcast, Harvest Your Own. He writes, he does video, he does tons and tons of stuff on the West Coast, and he's traveling all the time. He does this full time. For 3 decades, he's been making his living producing media for the outdoor industry, fishing and hunting. And we talked about, the difference between how he reports hunting and how fishing is reported in the media. And I'm talking magazines, fishing, hunting, outdoor magazines, TV shows, podcasts. Hunting, hunters decided 40 years ago, we can't just talk about trophies. We got to talk about the whole, field to fork. Right? Field to fork. It's a foraging exercise. And if you get a trophy along the way, good for you. But it's all about foraging and getting your own, harvesting your own. And fishing doesn't do that. And we're starting to get criticism from different corners across Canada, from First Nations communities, from fish welfare advocates, saying that we're out there playing with our food, torturing these fish for what? For what? Just to have fun doing this. Catch and release is a big part of what we need to do to regulate, right? We have slot sizes. We need to let the small ones go. We need to let the big ones go. There's a rationale for catch and release, but there's also a rationale for going out there and harvesting food that we have the right to harvest, and harvesting good home, local, organic, wild food, and bringing that back to our families and celebrating with our friends and having a good time with our friends and family, good social opportunities. And that's part of our heritage, right? It's food too. It's food on the table. And these types of apps will help us document the value of that, because we have no idea of the value of the fish we're harvesting out of any of these lakes we're fishing in. And if we knew that recreational anglers, were harvesting $10 million worth of walleye out of Lake Nipissing or some other lake every year, that's a huge amount of value that needs to be taken seriously. I'm not saying shut it down. I'm saying, listen to us. This is us going to the grocery store and spending $10 million at this lake. This is how important it is to us. We need that kind of data. We have no idea anywhere in North America this type of data of how much the value of the fish we're harvesting, what we're letting go, and what we're taking home. With that kind of data, all of a sudden, we become much more in a position of power, because all of a sudden you can put a number on it. You can put a value to it. And we need to be able to do that. The only way we're going to be able to do that is not through Creel surveys that cost $25,000 a lake and they last for 2 weeks. That doesn't tell us anything. It's just a blip. We need to be able to get this data and gather this data and use it to advance and protect our rights.
100%. And as some have attested, that's a fantastic way to describe the importance of value and how you can properly use, our creel samples as anglers as a means of showing the importance of that fishery. And you did an eloquent job. Some will say, Steve, that's a whole nother topic. You're 100% right. Some would argue that there's just too many darn studies and not enough action. And sometimes we do studies and find out, what the root cause of whatever it is, and then we don't exactly do what we should be doing. We do like an about face. And I speak to the folks out on the BC coast. They know that firsthand.
Yeah, and look, the scientists can only work with what they got, and the one thing they don't have is catch data. It's the hardest thing in the world to gather. We have it with the commercial fisheries. These commercial boats go out, they come back, they have to report every fish, every amount, the total weight of the capture, the amount they released, the discard. They have to report all that. They know exactly how many fish are being caught and when the quota is achieved and when to shut the whole thing down. They know that, right? They know how to manage a fish stock for commercial fishing purposes. This is not what we're talking about here. This is about, it's not managing us and telling us when to stop fishing. It's about making sure that we know, what we're doing out there, and that we're fishing and catching and gathering the right fish. Because I think there's a lot of people that are afraid to gather fish because they've been told if we keep fish, we're going to hurt the stock. And we release fish all the time thinking, well, that's what we got to do to protect the stock. Yeah. It's not necessarily the case. Some lakes need to be harvested. Fish grow in big numbers. They lay thousands and thousands of eggs because they know that they're all going to, many of them are going to be caught and eaten. They're not all meant to live to old age, right? So they're developed that way for a reason, and we need to participate in that harvesting. That's part of the circle of life. But knowing how to do it properly and sustainably, this is what we need to demonstrate, that we can do this and we have the numbers. And then the scientists will be able to back us up, and they'll be able to show that we're doing this the right way and how important it is. But they don't have the data yet. They just don't have the data.
And make no mistake about it. We see the creel samples of say a Lake Erie, for instance, and the commercial catch that's associated with it, the value of that commercial catch. And I'll tell you, it's not often that the recreational figure that is associated with recreational angling doesn't exceed the commercial take and the commercial value of that take. Recreational angling speaks to just a whole nother gamut when it comes to money and value and what it brings in to our economy. So as I said, make no mistake about it. As important as commercial fishing is in the bodies of water that have it and can sustain it, the recreational angling is 3 times that. And especially when you look at the American side of Lake Erie, it's 10 times that. So yeah, very, very good points you bring up, and I look forward to. And is that podcast available already, Lawrence?
The Brad Fenson is out there now, and you definitely, if you ever thought, what does it take to make a living in the outdoor industry? Like Big Jim, he puts out that magazine 4 times a year. That's his bread and butter, folks. That's his bread and butter, and he's his own publisher, right? He self-publishes. Now, if you want to write, if you want to become like Brad was a writer, and now he does in the video, photography, podcasting. He said you could still make a living. He just had to pivot. He still writes for all these magazines, 500 articles a year, but he's had to pivot to fill all these new niches and provide content. If you want to learn about that and what it takes, check out that podcast, and then listen to our conversation about what Brad has to say about harvesting and foraging for food.
This is interesting. Jeanette's bringing this up. I didn't know this. It's like when you get a moose tag and it's not filled, and then you don't report the tag not being filled, the data becomes skewed. So if a tag is issued and a hunter gets a doe tag or a cow, whatever, if that tag is not filled, that's not reported back to the ministry. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Wow. And Richard, great point in regards to Horwood Lake Lodge. Yeah, you could never have enough knowledge and science on Horwood Lake. It's just an incredible fishery that continues to support what I consider a sustainable take each and every year, which just it's baffling how vibrant that fishery is. 100%. So yeah, great link there, Steve, in regards to Bluefish Radio. Again, we want to invite you 7:00 our time this Wednesday, the 26th. We're going to have a whole host of characters. They're going to know everything about this app and anything, hopefully, that you have questions about in regards to it. And I invite you to join us on Wednesday. Lawrence, as always, my friend, can't thank you enough for all you bring. Looking forward to seeing you again this Wednesday. And I'm sure some very tough questions are going to get answered this week.
It's going to be fast moving. Everyone's going to have their chance to say their 3 most important things. And then we're going to get on to answering your questions, because I think that's the most important thing. We need to hear from you guys. You guys are the backbone of the fishery. We need to hear from you.
Absolutely. Well, as A-Rod has said, good night, Lawrence. We bid you farewell, but not
Cheers,
for long.
guys.
We're going to see you Wednesday. You take care,
Yes,
my friend.
it is. Thanks, Scotty.
Peace. All right. Well, we have our good friend Walter Heuck coming on next, but not before we have a word from our sponsor and some of those delicious outdoor flavors from Bait to Go.
When it comes to Canadian food, we've got your back with flavors like lemon pepper, beer batter, campfire barbecue, lemon pepper dill, garlic butter and chives, and crispy Cajun. We've got a mix for every meal. Whether you're serving East Coast shrimp, West Coast salmon, succulent walleye, chicken wings, or veggies, we've got you covered. Coat your food in outdoor flavors. Available online or at these fine retailers.
There he is, the one and only, the other third of our editing team, Walter Heuck. And I'll tell you, I've managed to say it right, 3 times now, Walter?
Yeah, you did. You did
well.
well.
I went the entire CFN retreat to the point where I was just saying, hey, Walt, I didn't even want to say the last name because I butchered it so bad. But Walter, right off the bat, on behalf of all of us at CFN, we can't thank you enough for the efforts that you put forth on a daily and weekly basis when it comes to all the edits that you do for our Western anglers. You showcase not only Saskatchewan, Manitoba, but anybody in Alberta and even west of that, including to our north, in such high regard. And from based on what we see in the inbox and how it's received by the anglers that get to see their edits and how they're featured on CFN, dude, you do a fantastic job.
Well, thanks very much. No, it's a team effort, honestly. Steve is a machine.
That's a whole nother realm. Like I understand, because that's kind of where I was. Now I don't go to the effort, nor do I have the creativity that Steve does, but the numbers that he pumps out
he's on another level.
Oh, totally.
I can't keep up to him.
Well, I can't there's no way I could anymore. I'm just, and as I said, as myself, I'm so thankful to have you and Steve a part of it. Terry and anyone else when they jump in, whether it be a video or they share a recipe, or it's just, I love to see it. Mark has done some how-to stuff as well. And absolutely awesome. Now the Ice Jam, and I noticed that there's still some Saskatchewan chapter members here, CFN Saskatchewan members that are still hanging on. They probably want to hear a little bit more. Daryl wants to hear a little bit more. Tell us what's involved and what they can expect at the Ice Jam.
Well, it's going to run February 5th and 6th, the Saturday and Sunday. There's a bunch of us. Daryl's probably local, so he doesn't have to, check into the Kenosee Inn, but a bunch of us that are traveling any distance. And we just decided we're going to grab a hotel room that night and fish late into the night, get up early in the morning, fish in the morning before sun up again. So we're just want to have some fun. People have been itching to get out of the house. Having said that, we still have to be smart about this. Mm-hmm. We can't be putting anybody in harm's way. So, we're still encouraged to fish within our household bubbles. So everybody's going to have their own pop-up outdoors. Once you're outside, you're fishing outside. If the weather holds, if the weather's nice, hopefully it does, we'll be able to, punch some holes outside and get outside and visit and walk around and visit with people. But if we're going to be in close quarters with anyone. You know, we're gonna do the right thing. We're gonna keep our masks on. We're gonna do this the right way.
And your numbers are not the same as what they are out here in Ontario. So I understand folks that have questions in regards to COVID, and we have been wanting together since mid-January with our CFN group out this way, and just haven't been able to do so because the numbers are running wild. But Jen has reached out to me tonight. Hopefully we'll get some dates in February that we'll be able to get you folks out enjoying something, maybe a little bit of a fish fry on the ice. But the whole idea is just, as you said, to build community. We have to do it responsibly.
Yeah.
Obviously, no liquor. If you are looking for a place to stay, is Kenosee Lake Inn and Cabins, have they got rooms available for us?
Yeah, they do. I don't think we've anywhere near tapped them out as far as their capacity goes. So Ed and Daylin, they've got the owners there. I'm sure they still got room, and there's cabins for rent too. So if somebody wanted to come out with a larger group, maybe a family, and rent a cabin, that's always an idea too.
Well, you folks out in Saskatchewan do us proud. I love when you guys get together. It's like no other province outside of maybe Ontario when it comes to building community. And we love you, Sask, what I call Sask Gold folks out that way, who do a great job pumping our tires and building our community and spreading the word of what it is that we're doing. But we will be with you, I'll tell you, in spirit during that event, and we will be living vicariously through you guys. Now, some of the fish that have been caught on this lake, obviously walleye is one of the big target fish. What else is on this lake?
So the two main species that are in Kenosee are going to be walleye and perch, but the numbers are staggering. It is a healthy fishery for perch. It's off the charts. Last year when we were out there, it was a group of 6 of us, maybe 7 of us. Over the course of 2 days, we had upwards of 700 fish.
Holy smokes.
But they're all, there was a couple of, keepers in that, but it's a fairly new fishery. What happened was years ago, the water level dropped so low that the entire lake suffered winter kill. So everything was gone. And so through a restocking process, yellow perch and walleye have been reintroduced into that lake. Some say that, some dormant laying eggs have hatched, and there might be the odd pike in there now, but we don't know. As with any natural body of water, it's probably inevitable that other species will take hold in that lake at some point. But for the most part, it's yellow perch and the walleye.
Now, is the laws very similar to how they are out this way when it comes to filleting fish out on the ice and preparing them and cooking them? Is it frowned upon or illegal out your way?
No, you can have a fish fry out on the ice. Obviously, we can't waste anything. It's a game fish. So, and the nice thing is the anglers that are part of our CFN community, they're the ethical anglers. They police themselves. So it's not like we need a conservation officer watching over our shoulder to make sure we're doing it right. We know what the rules are. We know, and we police ourselves. We're taking care to make sure that we're doing it right.
Well, you know what? We might have to get you guys and gals some outdoor flavors from our good friends over at Bait to Go to make sure that if you do have a fish fry, whether it's the first day or the second, because based on the numbers that you're telling me you're going to be catching, I dare say there's going to be a fish fry in there. Now, in terms of numbers, how many are you hoping to have? How many are you sort of limiting based on COVID regs, that kind of thing?
No, there's no limits as far as that goes. From last count that we had here in our group chat, I think we're anywhere in the neighborhood of 16 to 20 anglers right now.
Wow.
So now some guys are coming out for the day. Some guys are coming out early on Friday already. There's a couple of folks from from Regina that are heading out on Friday already. I'm gonna make it a 3-day event. They're gonna spend 2 nights at the Kenosee Inn. Most of us are heading out Saturday morning, fish all day, stay at the inn that night, and then fish on Sunday as well. Some folks got to leave Sunday morning, and that's understandable. Some people have a further drive, so it is what it is. That's fine.
Absolutely.
One of the nice little things or perks we found out is we got a local community television station is going to be sending out a camera crew, and they're going to be covering our event, doing some live footage, doing a few interviews here and there. So you might see me on the other end of a microphone, popping my head into a couple of shacks and, introducing a few folks that way too. So I'm not sure what the final product is going to look like or what that's gonna end up to be, but we'll go with it. We'll see what happens, and CFN will get a little bit of television exposure that way.
Well, you know what? That's fantastic. But what I would love for all of you out that way to become are TV stars. And if we can download some of the video that comes from that outing, and of course you sexy devil on the end of a mic, we're all for it, man. I'm definitely down for it. Just some interesting tidbits of information that Daryl's sharing. So they've been stocking, is that 500,000 perch the last 2 years, as well as 100,000 walleye. Would that be the Research Sportfish Group in Saskatchewan that's doing that stocking? Do you know, Walter?
Well, I'm sure they're going to be doing some of it,
Okay.
but I'm not sure who all the other groups are. There's the Saskatchewan Fish Hatchery based out of Echo Lake, about an hour northeast of Regina. Their efforts as far as restocking lakes go in Saskatchewan, but I believe that the fish hatchery there is predominantly dealing with trout. So they do a lot of trout restocking in local lakes here. So as far as the perch and the walleye restocking, I'm really not sure who the organization is that's taking care of that.
But that is, as Nick said, that's a lot of fish, and it is. There's some good numbers, and if managed properly, can sustain a fishery for a number of years. Great question. Steve is asking, the perch and walleye, they'd be spawning in that body of water naturally, I would imagine. No,
I would believe so. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, they were naturally occurring fish in that lake up until that winter kill event. So there's no reason to believe they wouldn't resume their natural spawning activities.
Interesting. Now, Jeanette has a question, and that's unfortunate, Jeanette, that you've only eaten perch once and you thought it was overcooked. And that is what happens when you overcook fish. It gets rubbery and tough the texture's lost. Can you explain what perch tastes like?
Well, perch and walleye are in the same family. So if you have a properly cooked walleye and a properly cooked perch, they're going to be very similar. I would think my personal experience is that the perch might be a little bit sweeter.
And a lot of folks would completely agree with you. I find with the walleye, the smaller they are, the sweeter the meat, but nothing compares to a good sized walleye when it comes to the sweetness of the meat. It is, in a lot of cases, and folks would argue that it is far more delicious than walleye. I don't think it's that much more delicious. I think they're very, very comparable. Definitely walleye, perch have a sweeter meat to them. But again, some folks would disagree and think that walleye are better.
Yeah.
It's basically to your own taste, but you know what, Jeanette, I think a challenge is going to be set out for you to get some perch so that you can cook it yourself and hopefully cook it so that it's not like it was the last time. You're biased, Scotty. Yes, Steve, 100%. I love my walleye. Can't beat it, especially up at Horwood. Man, I tell you, that walleye was just absolutely delicious. But I can imagine at Kenosee Lake, they are very much the same. And we're hoping that you guys can get out. And the date, again, Walter, if people aren't aware?
February 5th and 6th.
So
February. Give Ed or Daylin a call out at Kenosee and Cabins and see if they still have some vacancy, and come on out and join us for a full day or a couple of days, whatever you feel is, fits into your schedule of, just a meet and greet and get out on the ice and, get away from the city, do some fishing, have some fun, meet some CFNers that you've never met before. I think there's going to be some folks attending this year that we've never met yet. So that's going to be fantastic.
100%. And we thank you so much, Walter, and the rest of your group, whoever that is helping you put this event on, and to everyone that's going. I think it's absolutely awesome. I know you guys are going to do your best when it comes to COVID and making sure everybody follows the rules so that we're not spreading that godforsaken virus to anyone else. But let's not think about that. Let's think about the fun, the fish, and the great memories that are going to be shared out on Kenosee and the hard water. How thick would the ice be there, roughly?
Well, that's probably a better question for Daryl Nelson. He was one that was out there recently. But I know there's a lot of snow on the ice. So folks around Regina here have been seeing anywhere from 12 to 16 inches of snow on top of the ice. So we got to get a good 4x4 to get us out there and get us back off the lake again too. So
100%. Now, I know Steve, before we let you go, I know Steve would be very upset and probably not talk to us for a good 2 hours if we did not mention that if you are looking to have your young one featured, yourself featured, a friend, or anyone else that is, very proud of their catch, whether it's a big fish or a small fish, doesn't matter. Big or small, we love them all. Mm-hmm. If you want to be featured on CFN, where are we going to send our photos, Walter?
So on Facebook, click on the Canadian Fishing Network page. Right near the top, you see the big message button. Click that button. Send us a photo right there in our inbox. Steve and I will be jumping all over that. We'll get on that. Send us the name of the person that's in the photo, whoever the angler is, what province you're from, and make sure the spelling's right. We don't want to, all we can do is take the information we get off the inbox. So if someone inadvertently misspells a name, we're going to do it too. And we don't want to do that to people. So we know having an edit on CFN means a lot to people. It's a pretty cool thing to wake up, turn your phone on and you see an edit of yourself on CFN. It's pretty special. And we want that feeling for everyone. So send us your photos. We're more than willing to do an edit up and get you featured.
That's awesome. Well, Kenosee Lake is the Ice Jam. It's targeted for February 5th and 6th. Daryl is saying that there's 15 to 18 inches of ice and roughly 2 feet of snow. So we that could support hundreds and hundreds of CFNers. So within reason, we'd love to see you all out there and enjoying yourself. And when it comes to your edits, you know what? We're going to be sharing a bunch of next gen edits that Steve put together in a video at the end of the segment. Before we go, Walter, again, on behalf of everyone at CFN, including myself, but we love what you do. We love your passion, and we love, how Saskatchewan has embraced our CFN community and has built a community of its own, dude. You've done a fantastic job out your way.
Yeah, baby.
Yes, sir. All right. On that note, I'm going to leave tonight's segment with what I think is just a gem of a video. Everyone have a great week. Stay safe. Hopefully you get out on the hard water and enjoy some fishing, and we'll be awaiting February 5th and 6th. And hopefully we'll have an announcement soon about an ice jam our way here in Ontario. But in the meantime, have a look at some incredible photos and features on CFN of our next gen anglers. All the best. Take care.